Welcome to Zonie Living, Business, Adventure, and Leadership. What you are about to hear will touch your heart, and the women you are about to meet will make you believe in angels on earth. I want to tell you about an organization that protects and saves the lives of children around the world. It's called ChildHelp. The story of the women who founded ChildHelp is absolutely incredible. Actresses Sarah O'Meara and Yvonne Pettersen created ChildHelp and also were the force behind what was called Operation Baby Lift, flying orphan children out of Vietnam when the U.S. troops were being evacuated in 1975. These compassionate, daring, and determined women successfully managed to acquire planes and get these orphan children on board and flown to the United States where they would find homes. And that is just part of their story. Sarah and Yvonne are recognized for bringing awareness to child abuse in our country and all over the world, and have been heroes to children who have desperately needed a hero. I want to also have you meet Jill Babb. Jill has elevated ChildHelp's visibility in Northern Arizona and beyond through some of the most successful campaigns. She's raised hundreds of thousands of dollars in less than 20 years. And all three of these women, coincidentally, are neighbors in Flagstaff. Sarah O'Meara, Yvonne Pettersen, and Jill Babb are joining us right now. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome.
It looks like a beautiful day in Flagstaff.
It is.
Jill, I wanted to note that you have known Sarah and Yvonne. You all have been friends and worked together and played together for a long time. And it's such a great honor to be talking to all of you. But Jill, I want to ask you to please jump in and fill in any spaces if we missed something, because I know you are so familiar with the ChildHelp story. So Yvonne and Sarah, you two were young actresses in the 1950s, hired out of hundreds of applicants to entertain the troops in foreign lands after the Korean War. So that must have been an incredible time.
It was an incredible time, and we had a lot of fun. Hollywood was not like it is today, I have to tell you. And we had so many opportunities, and Yvonne and I kept running into each other, and then ended up rooming together in an apartment so that we could be close to the set. We both met on the Ozzie and Harriet show, and also we were Sunday school teachers at the same church. So
oh my goodness!
And then we were chosen to go on this trip that changed our life forever.
Oh, absolutely. So tell us about some of the people you worked with, some of the experiences. What were the soldiers like? They must have been so thrilled to have you there.
The soldiers were wonderful. We had a skit that we did. The general who met with us after we were chosen said, now, girls, I want you to know the reason we've chosen you is not because you're such great actresses or because you're too beautiful, but it's because you're the girl next door type. Uh-huh. And our soldiers are getting involved with the girls over there and having babies. And we want them to know what American girls are really like, waiting for them back home. Now, I don't know how we did on that. But we really had a wonderful time with the soldiers, and they were so respectful and so nice, and we danced with them. We had fun, didn't we?
Yes, but they were in the remote areas, and that's why I think they like to see women there to entertain.
Absolutely. I'm sure they did. But then there was that time in Tokyo when there was that fateful typhoon.
Yes. That changed our lives forever.
Yes.
Because that typhoon, we were not supposed to go out to see any of the destruction from the typhoon. The hotel we were staying, it was a military hotel, and they had a flag up that we were not supposed to go out. Yvonne and I were so bored because we were in like 3 days. So we decided to sneak out, and we went out the basement steps in order to get outside. And little did we know that it would change our life forever, because we came across 11 little children that were trying to fend off the cold. They were hiding under a fallen awning, and their knuckles were cracked and bleeding from the cold. They didn't have shoes, and they tried to get under our big coats because we had great big camel hair coats, and they were trying to get up under them to keep warm.
So warm.
We tried to tell them about or ask them about where they belonged, and they couldn't.
Where's your mama sons?
Yeah.
Where's your papa sons?
Oh.
That's about as much as we could say, but
Sure.
we said that. Where are they? And they kept saying, no mama sons, no papa sons. And we thought, oh my goodness, why are they here? Something must have happened to their parents.
Yes. So we snuck back up our hotel room through those steps, the basement steps, and gave them a hot bath and fed them. And then a colonel was assigned to us to travel to Korea, Okinawa, and Japan, where we were in Tokyo. And we told them we had these children in our room, and he had a fit.
Can you imagine?
Your room couldn't have been that big, so you had 13 people in there. What were the ages, do you guess, of those children?
Oh, they're very tiny.
They were from 2 years old to 10 years old. And we searched for an orphanage for them. He gave us a list of orphanages, and it was always overcrowded because the Typhoon had orphaned so many children, and they had to make room for those children, and they turned out half American, half Japanese children, which these ended up to be.
We didn't know that at the time.
Yeah, we didn't know they were known as throwaways, and that nobody wanted them. They were children without a country. They did not have a birth certificate. America said they're not ours, and America said they're not ours. So we still had not placed them that night. We snuck them back into our hotel room and started our pursuit the next day. Found out they had been turned out of a specific orphanage that we approached. And because they were half American, half Japanese, it gave us the fortitude to reapproach the colonel to say, we still have these children. These are our children. We're not going to turn them out. You have to help us in some way. So he directed us to the director of Tokyo Gospel Missions, Dr. Morton, who was half American, half Japanese himself. He was on his way back to America because he had dual citizenship. And he said, nobody has ever stopped to take care of these children, but I'm going to give you the name of a woman that will take them in, that has a hut, but it's an orphanage. At least she takes them in. So we approached that little hut, and she had 10 children. We had 11, and we talked her into taking our 11, promising her we would take care of all 21 children if she would take them, because we had a show to do that night, and we had to leave them someplace.
We didn't know what we were going to do with them.
Right. I can only imagine. Now, I find it interesting. I don't know if everyone caught this, but these children were called throwaway children. So if it hadn't been for the kindness of strangers, they were really like their own tribe trying to survive on the streets. Is that right?
That is absolutely correct. And Mama Ken turned out to be the most fabulous, wonderful Christian woman. And we stopped the show that night, and we said, some of these might be yours, and you have to help us, and we're going to pass the hat. And we need you to come with lumber and build on the front door and window panes and expand this 2-little-room hut. And they showed up in mass the next day with stolen army blankets and lumber and
doors and windows, right?
And everything.
Oh,
They took a shot.
my goodness.
They were fabulous.
So you were building orphanages right away. And I believe I read on your website, Yvonne and Sarah, you were talking about, word spread. And soon enough, so many orphans started arriving on Mama Ken's doorstep. Is that a true story?
It's true. And we had over 100 children entrusted in our care before we ever came back home. And that's when we began International Orphans Incorporated.
Wow.
But when you left, you also there was a school, right, and a hospital?
Well, we came back and we built 4 orphanages.
We got our friends together to help us to fundraise and to raise the money so that we could build more buildings for the children, for more children.
So this would have been in the 60s that you were building hospitals and orphanages.
is when we found the children.
1959.
It would
Right.
be in the-
And then following that, you started building. And you, as you mentioned, you got lots of soldiers to lend their support and give you a lot of help, and your friends went back with you. But then came 1975. And I want to read to you what I read on your website. You said there was a general that was at one of your fundraising events, and I'm guessing that was back in the States. And he took you aside and said, "Ladies, I have something to tell you, something that very few people know. In a short time, I expect to receive orders from the president to pull our troops out of Vietnam." Of course, you must have thought of the children immediately. What would you be doing with all these orphans?
Well, I back a
Yeah.
little with that. Congress wanted to salute us for what we had done in Japan, we thought, and they did, except at the same time they asked us if we would go into Vietnam and build orphanages like we had done in Japan for the half American children, because it was such a problem. So we did go into Vietnam. We built 5 orphanages, a hospital, and a school.
We worked with the 3rd Marine Amphibious Force.
My
General
goodness.
Lewis W.
Yes.
Walt was the one that we
Wonderful.
worked with almost on a daily basis. We had a phone connected right to Vietnam with him. And then he came to one of our fundraisers, many of our fundraisers, but this particular one, he did take us aside and say, "Ladies, don't send any more money over. The president's going to say any day for me to pull out our troops, and the money will land in the Viet Cong's hands,
Oh, my goodness.
and the children probably will be killed." Well, we couldn't stand it. And we called the next day and said, "You have asked us to go in and save these children, and now they're all going to be slaughtered. You have to help us get airplanes in there to get these children out." And that was the beginning of Operation
Baby
Lift. And we brought thousands upon thousands of children to this country. And speaking so well of our Americans that opened their hearts, every single child was adopted by the time it reached our soil.
I can't even imagine the anguish
Babb.
of not knowing what to do when you got that news. And then being able to assemble planes and people to help organize these children and get them safely into families in the United States.
Bonnie, they took the seats out of the plane and
Oh,
put
The
boxes in
babies. Put the
that
babies
where,
in boxes.
where the babies would be in boxes to bring over, because some of them were so little, weren't they?
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Oh, they
Yes.
were
They're all ages, but
months
Yeah.
old.
babies.
And then when they brought them over to California, where they landed, they were
Long
vetted.
Beach Air Naval Base.
I think
They
they
turned
were.
it over to us.
Yeah.
And all our volunteers would take a baby out and then take the baby to the main area where we had all of these children.
And they had a ribbon around their antenna, right?
Yes.
Their cars, the volunteers. Yes, we knew there were hundreds of them there helping us and taking the babies out. And they had little bracelets on the children saying the names of the children.
Mm.
And then they picked them out. It was so emotional. It was really, I think, the most emotional thing that we ever went through. But it was very exciting to have these children here and safe, and then to be adopted. It was wonderful to see.
And one other thing too, the very first plane that took off from Vietnam
yes.
crashed.
Yes.
Oh,
And,
I vaguely
also-
remember that. Yes.
Yeah. And there were some survivors. In fact, one of the survivors was the very first woman West Point graduate.
Wow.
So that's kind of neat to think that came that far.
And one is a lawyer defending abused children right now, and she's done fundraisers for us in San Diego.
In San Diego. We're so
Oh,
proud
my
of
gosh. Yes. Well, I was wondering if any of those children had reached back and connected with you through the years.
They have.
Yes.
I bet that is so rewarding. Well, that event, Operation Baby Lift, ignited a movement of compassion across the United States and I imagine the world. So you were talking with people like Nancy Reagan and others who wanted to promote your story, promote awareness of child abuse and child neglect.
Well, we were talking we were the keynote speakers at an event at the old Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles. And on the dais with us were the Reagans. And when we came back from our seats from having given our speech,
Nancy was governor at the time.
Yeah, he was governor, just going in as governor of California. And Nancy reached out her hand and stopped us and said, "You're just the two to do it." And we said, "Do what?"
Do what?
And she said, child abuse in this country. The laws are protecting the perpetrator, not the child. You must do something about it. And you two are the ones that can, because you have dealt with an unpopular war and you have succeeded. You have dealt with unpopular issues and succeeded. And this is a very unpopular issue. And we would like for you to begin the main thrust of letting people know what's happening to the children right here in our country. And we thought she was crazy because nobody had about child abuse.
Oh, you must be wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's what I wondered. You know, back in those days, it was easy to think about child abuse happening maybe in some other land, but certainly not in the United States and certainly not in our own communities. But you have taught us differently.
Well,
unfortunately,
we had said we have to do a feasibility study if we did anything like that. And so she looked at Ronnie and she said, "I think they can get that money, don't you, Ronnie?" And winked. And the next day, she had a check delivered from them for us to start a feasibility study, which we did. We got people we contacted people from all over the world, actually, that knew the best thing of how to treat children. And was it really happening in the first place? If so, what were the laws? And so we had a lot of research to do before we went into Washington to help change the laws. That's the first thing we did, was go to DC to change the laws, which we were successful. And then our whole group said, the way that we're going to get America to know about what's happening to its children is through the media. So we need to do a television special across the nation. And everybody said, yes, that's what we should do. But then we looked at each other and we said, we're going to stir everybody up. And there's nothing to point to them as a solution. And that's what caused us to build the very first residential treatment facility in the world, probably strictly for abused children. And we opened that in California, which is still open today. That's about 45 years ago. And we built the television special around that to show the different disciplines within that program that could be done. If people could not build a whole village like we had, they could take it in segments. They could do art therapy, animal therapy, education. We dealt with the different disciplines that you deal with in trying to rehabilitate a child from abuse.
That television program, was that A Time for Love?
Yes.
Was that the one? So, and at the same time, so you were talking about the centers that you've been building and the facilities. So you built a Children's Village USA in California, and then another one in Virginia, and a ChildHelp Children's Center in Tennessee. I can't even imagine the amount of work you all did, and it didn't seem like you ever had a choice. These orphans showed up in your life. Nancy Reagan says, you're the ladies that can do this. So was there ever a time when you felt like, that's just enough? I want to get back to my acting career. I want to do something else. Was there ever a time where it just became too much for you?
Not necessarily our acting career, but we had married during this, our families. And so after the Vietnam War, and we had brought the children back, and our children in Japan had grown up, and we turned the orphanages over to the people that were running them. It was a little different. The discrimination wasn't as great, etc. Mm-hmm. We thought, now's the time for our family time. But that was when Nancy Reagan and Ronnie interceded, and they gave money the rest of their days
Yes.
for
They've
child
been
help.
so supportive.
Oh,
Yes.
And we'd go in the whole office, he'd say, well, Nancy and I have another check for you.
You're our fee for charity.
Sarah, that was a great Ronald Reagan impression, by the way.
You know, John Wayne's wife was in the very first chapter of Child Help in California, and she can do John Wayne real well too.
Oh, he was great.
Wow. So much support, so much love. Jill, tell us how you met Yvonne and Sarah and how you became so involved in Child Help.
Well, when they moved in, I think we built our house after you had already moved in, but I brought over some fudge to welcome them to the neighborhood.
She's the best fudge maker.
I know. Yeah. I do know that.
Every time that fudge stuff. So I brought it over and we started talking, obviously, about, just about life and what we did. And the very first time that after I met him, I said, well, let's go out to dinner and why don't you come over and, we'll have some hors d'oeuvres and before we go and have dinner. Well, meanwhile, those little stinkers, they stuck one of their books. There's a book written about them. It's called Silence Broken. And I'll have to get you one of those books, Bonnie, so that you can read a little more about it. Yeah, and so they put it in my mailbox, and of course I looked at it and started reading it, and I couldn't hardly even sleep that night because I'm thinking to myself, these women have been in the Oval Office, they've been with every seated president in their time, and had dinner at the White House. What was I supposed to serve? I mean, I didn't even know what to serve. I was like, oh my gosh, they probably like fancy food, and of course it turns out their favorite thing is a hamburger.
Oh, love it.
But anyway, so we became friends, and really the rest is history. And then they asked me to start a chapter. I started a chapter. Then they asked me to be on the National Board of Directors, and what an honor that is, I'll tell you, because I'm on there with some really, really heavy hitters. Well, Jill, here I am, a little interior decorator in Flagstaff, Arizona.
Let me tell you, I think she's not just a little interior decorator.
No.
She's a fabulous volunteer. If anyone wants to be an example for a woman that is a fabulous volunteer, a fabulous mother, and a fabulous wife, we wouldn't have child abuse in this country if everybody was like Jill Babb. Let me tell you that.
Sarah, well said. I completely agree with you. And Jill, I asked you a while back how you got involved and why it was so important to you. Because when Jill gets involved in something, she goes all in. And I'm telling you, these galas are unbelievable. And Jill, you told me that it's because you had such a great childhood and you wanted others to experience that as well.
That's exactly right. When I first found out all about Child Help, it, of course, broke my heart, first off, because when you talk to the ladies, one-on-one, you hear stories that, are way above what you can read. I mean, the details and everything. And so I thought, well, I have to do something because I did have such a normal childhood that I had to give back. But I'll tell you, we don't just have a chapter up here. We've been trying to get an advocacy center up here, although it's so expensive. We were real close to getting one, and then some things fell through. Now we're trying to get our Speak Up, Be Safe program into the schools here in Flagstaff, and it's only going to be $12,000 to get it in the whole public school system. And so we're hoping to maybe raise some money or get some grants or something to get it going, because we know that one of the most important things for these kids is to know that what is happening to them is not normal.
And that must be really difficult for them to understand that. And I wanted to touch on the impact of the pandemic on child abuse. Jill, you and I have had a lot of conversations about that. We were talking about COVID-19 and children being in homes and basically being imprisoned with their abuser if they are in a violent home. Some weren't getting enough food to eat, and they really didn't see anyone else. So if they were suffering, if something was going on with these kids, no one would know about it.
Well, true. And it was proven by a husband and wife that had 3 kids. One of them was a brand new newborn. I mean, newborn. And the father came in and shot the wife
Oh my gosh.
and left all 3 kids. And they would go out on the balcony of this apartment during COVID and try to get someone to stop. They would say they were hungry and no one would stop. And finally, I don't know what if it was.
It was a neighbor.
But was it like 3 weeks or something, or 2 weeks?
No, it was about 8 days, I think. But
think of that.
But they had not eaten, and the oldest one was 3 years old, and they would go out on the balcony of their apartment, and they took a spoon that was very clever to bang. And so finally one of the neighbors called the police and said, "These children are making such a racket. We want them to be shut up, and we'd like for you to come get them to stop." Well, when they went in, you can tell them.
Yeah, when they went in, they found the woman actually decomposing because it had been 8 days since she had been killed, and her newborn was still alive, believe it or not.
Unbelievable. No, that is incredible to believe. You know, I read that 43%, there was a 43% increase in calls from the hotline during the pandemic. And your hotline, I'll say it here and we'll talk about it again, is 1-800-4-A-CHILD. Tell me about how that increase has gone up, and do we still have a problem?
Do you want to talk about
There's
that,
a lot of
Yvonne?
Yeah, we have had so many calls and texts. You know, now we have texts. I think we're the only ones that do it on the hotline, and the children love the text. In fact, we've had so many children call and tell about what's happening, because then they can't hear them. They're texting it.
Oh, very good. Yes.
And we've been able to reach so many, just thousands of children. And we also get calls in 18 countries.
I can't even imagine.
We can take calls in any country because of AT&T connected with us. And we are the National Child Abuse Hotline. We started 40 years ago, and the calls have increased. Hundreds of thousands of calls we get from across the United States and Canada, and from other countries where our operators from AT&T intervene.
And one of the other things too is it's not just for the children to call in. We've gotten a lot of calls from people that are like the very first call that Sarah and Yvonne ever got when they started the hotline. A woman called and said, "I have the water boiling. I'm getting ready to put my baby in it."
That's right.
Talk me out of it.
And they do.
Oh.
That's why we have professionals 24/7 answer the phones, because volunteers couldn't do that. They like to do it, but they're not able to talk, to certain people when they're going to be killing their child or doing something very dramatic like that. They have to be a professional and be able to understand how to handle the situation.
The calls are getting worse.
They are more and worse.
Mm-hmm. They really are. They're getting so much worse than they ever have been. What Jill brought up was ChildHelp Speak Up, Be Safe, which is the greatest prevention program. We're the only evidence-based program in existence from kindergarten through high school that is a prevention program. And it really causes so many children to not have to go through that horrible abuse all their life, because they understand what to do. And because it's connected with our hotline, they have a resource of where to go, and we get them help immediately. So this program in your schools should be up here. It should be in every school, because it would cut down not only the cases of child abuse, but the cases of rape and prostitution and drug addicts. Trafficking, because these children end up on the streets. They all their life, if they don't get rehabilitated, like at our treatment center or other treatment centers, then it's a proven fact that there are over 80% of those that are incarcerated have been abused as children. So if you get to stop it at the beginning and not even have abuse, then that will stop the cycle. And you can imagine what this would really save in every way, not only the human being, but the resources of America.
That's right.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I know you have a warrior in Jill in Flagstaff, and so I have no doubt that will happen.
Be safe in your schools.
Yeah, we're going to speak up, be safe in our schools. You watch, Bonnie.
I have no doubt, none at all. And
You help us do, Bonnie. We need your help. We need you.
Well, I will spread the word as far and as loudly as I can. I can't imagine talking with you ladies, the courage that you three have to be able to listen to the realities that many children face, and then to take that pain and be able to turn it into determination to make a difference in thousands of young lives. And you do that in a great number of ways. And I want to let people know that some of the ways you do it is by having large galas where people can come and they can hear testimonials. And you all draw on your star power, of course, to bring in celebrities and sports legends and people that we're familiar with to help raise money and speak at the events. And I know, Jill, you've been responsible for bringing Arizona quarterback of the Cardinals, Kurt Warner, and others. I know Cheryl Ladd from the television series Charlie's Angels has been an advocate and has been involved. So it's just incredible. Tell us what some of these events are like. Now, I know that COVID has changed things, but let's talk pre-COVID and hopefully post-COVID. What can people expect at some of these events?
Well, I'll talk about our event first, and then Sarah and Yvonne can talk about the big gala that we have down in Phoenix. But the one that we have here is called 25 Men Who Think They Can Cook. And we've done it virtually 3 years in a row. And this year was not the greatest success because people are tired of the virtual. So next year we're going to have it in person again. And I know you've been to our event, Bonnie. It's a lot of fun.
It is
25.
So much fun.
The reason we get them is because we tell them that they're celebrity chefs. And, men like that. They like celebrity. So we get them that way. And then they do like a little tasting. The last time we had it in person, we had 650 people, if you can imagine. And it's real informal. People love it. They get tired of these having to dress up to go out to dinner. And so it's been a great success over the years here in Flagstaff. And like I said, the last one we had was a big one. So we're hoping the next one we do in person again will be a big one. We always have a lot of auction items and things. And then we have celebrity chefs be our judges, like John Conley from Salsa Brava and Fat Olives, and Frank Branham always is one of our judges. We usually get Paul Penzone from Phoenix, the sheriff, to come up and be one of the judges.
He's very supportive.
He's very supportive, yes. And they judge them, and then we give them prizes and give them a medal, and it's just a lot of fun. And it's not a big expensive night. It doesn't cost a lot. The tickets don't. And so anyway, hopefully this next year in June, a year from now, we'll be able to have it in person. But the big event is the gala that we have in Phoenix. And I have to have the ladies talk about that one.
Yes, please do.
Well, we're very fortunate because we have a lot of donors that are touched by what's happening. Mm-hmm. And we do have a large center in Phoenix. And we actually have programs all across the United States. We have foster families, group homes. We are an adoption agency now in a couple of our states,
California and Tennessee.
And we have
group homes, foster homes.
And nationally, our programs are, of course, the National Child Abuse Hotline. We are in 18 different countries with our prevention program, mainly on the military bases. So we reach far and wide as far as abuse is concerned in tackling the issue. We're very fortunate because we do have a lot of celebrities that do come in for the major event in Phoenix. Kathy Lee Gifford.
Oh, love her. Yes.
Cheryl Ladd, John O'Hurley, Jane Seymour.
We've been very blessed because we were a part of the being in Hollywood.
Of course.
And
yes.
so our friends were mainly there when we started, and they've always been an active part. We've always had the top stars support us in so many ways because they believed in what we were doing. So we've been very fortunate over the years because We've had wonderful events in California and Tennessee, on the East Coast, everywhere. We love them all. And we love our volunteers. We haven't done this alone, believe me. We've done this with a lot of outstanding volunteers. Some of our people in California have been with us almost since we began. They're still our friends. They're still
living.
Yes. And they're very proud to be a part of what we're doing. And we couldn't have done it without them. And we also appreciate all the different people who support us. I mean, we can have wonderful volunteers and events, but you have to have all those people there on the seats, there at the event supporting you and buying into what you're doing. And I think they're pleased with what we do. And we have best practices. We have the best, we try to have the very best for the children and give them everything they need, whatever it takes. That's the best for them. That's what we want to do, to make them be healed and to be a responsible person when they grow up.
Now, can anybody come to one of these events? What time of year do they come up, and what's the range of tickets generally?
Well, the cheapest tickets is $1,000 each. Okay. We net this past year over $5 million net. It was our best year ever. But
that sounds like a lot of money, and it is, but it's a lot to keep up, all the children that we have in our care.
No doubt. Yes.
And we want to do more and more because more and more is needed for so many children in so many ways.
Well, what we do is not paid by the government. It's over and above that because we have such enriched programs for the children for which we care. And those that are just government run can't do some of the extra things we do.
That's why we appreciate our people.
The reason I was going to say that we do it, can do it, is because of volunteers and people that are listening to this program right now whose heart is touched and they want to become a part of it in some way. There are many ways you can give. It doesn't have to be monetarily. It can be of yourself, which I think is the best way of giving, because it's easy sometimes for people to pay. It's not always easy for them to give their time and their effort. So you need it all.
We need someone that can help and has money.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll put the word out there, but I think anyone who does attend any of these events, you cannot help but feel for these children. And I think there's never a dry eye in the room. I've experienced some of that. And Jill, even though the 25 Men Who Think They Can Cook is a very lighthearted event and very delicious, by the way, I've gotten some great recipes from that. But it's also backed with a serious need. And I think people do feel good about helping and belonging and doing something, whatever they can do for ChildHelp. So when is the big gala in Phoenix? Is that scheduled for next year?
February the 18th.
Did you say February?
Yes.
February the 18th.
The next one.
Okay, very good. And of course, people can find out more at childhelp.org. I wanted to talk about what else is coming up. Do you have other things planned? I know it's still kind of tricky out there with the pandemic continuing and going on with new variants. But Jill, do you have any plans? You just came off of an event.
We did. We just finished our 25 Men virtual. So we're going to be looking forward to doing it again in June of next year. We're not sure exactly if we're going to have it at High Country Conference Center again or if we're going to go out to Twin Arrows, but we will be having it in June. And hopefully we'll get to see everyone there and raise a lot of money so that we can get a presence of ChildHelp other than our 1-800 for a child number, but our Speak Up, Be Safe, and maybe an advocacy center here someday in Flagstaff, because it's so needed. And, going back to what you were saying as far as, fundraising, for children, you cannot dispute the fact, that we all need to help children. Some people might dispute animals or whatever for fundraising. You just cannot dispute that we need to raise funds for the abused children because they are the future of our world. And when they're damaged and hurt, and they just carry that with them until we can help them. And so, and that's why so many of them end up in prison because they haven't been helped. So we were just talking about the Speak Up, Be Safe in the schools is really one of the most important things. And we're hoping that these schools will mandate that they will make sure that they have to have it in their schools, because it's going to make for a better generation.
Before we go, Yvonne and Sarah, I know that you have received a great number of awards and honors, some of them from world leaders like presidents of the United States, the Queen of England, and even the Pope. And I want to just name off a few so that everyone can understand what kind of awards we're talking about. This is the Presidential Medal of Freedom. You both have been nominated for that. You've won the Congressional Angels in Adoption Award in Washington, D.C. You've received the Global Women's Summit Humanitarian Award. And that's just scratching the surface. Do you have an award or a favorite moment or a favorite individual that you can talk about?
Well, we feel very honored to receive any kind of award. And of course, the Sandra Day O'Connor Award, I think, was meaningful to us because we knew her, and she was such a fantastic human being. But also, I think Yvonne and I felt with the Daughters of American Revolution Award that we received, we love America. We think that people don't understand how fortunate we are to live by the Constitution and have a free country and appreciate our military. And so I guess if there was one that was more meaningful, it would be that one, because it also included so much about our past.
Yes.
And people that have given sacrifices for us to be able to be here, free, living in this free world. And we're all should fight to keep it that way.
You know, because we're founders, we receive the awards, but we really do always give the credit to God. And we also want to share these awards with all of our volunteers and all of those that made this happen, made all our programs so wonderful for the children, because we certainly didn't do it by ourselves.
That is for absolute sure. We have dedicated this organization to God from the very beginning, and He is the one that has opened every door. We have not done that. We couldn't have done that. He did it for us.
And I have to tell you, Bonnie, these two women never really want the spotlight put on them. They always want to give, obviously, the glory to God, which we all believe that, but they also want to shine the light on the volunteers. And it's always amazing when we're with them, because my husband, Bill, is always saying that. He says, you know, these women are the most humble women we've ever met. I mean, here they are, probably the most recognized people that we've ever been friends with. And yet they're so humble. They want to know about us instead of, you know, the spotlight being on them. So I'll tell you, these two women are truly, truly special. And one other thing that we didn't touch on, and that was what they all had all the senators in Washington sign. You want to just talk about that real quick? Because that was a very important thing.
This has happened twice, and we're the only ones fortunate enough to have all 50 governors signed a resolution for ChildHelp to continue its work because of the impact that we have made. When I say we, I'm talking about our organization has made for abused children throughout our land. And so we're very proud of that, because that's the one time all the governors have come together.
Very amazing. You ladies are just incredible. I can't say that enough. Sarah O'Meara, Yvonne Pettersen, and Jill Babb, you are true international heroes, but also angels on earth. In your time today, your experiences, your stories have helped us understand the immensity of this global problem of child abuse. I want to thank you so much for all that you've done, for joining us today, and for the important and courageous work that you do saving lives. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us. I really will be keeping an eye on you and hope to be out to support you at your next events.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you, Bonnie.
God bless you.
God bless you too. To find out more about ChildHelp, go to childhelp.org. You can also call or text the ChildHelp National Child Abuse Hotline. That's 1-800-4-A-CHILD, 1-800-422-4639. 4453. You can read more also at flagstaffbusinessnews.com and quadcitiesbusinessnews.com. Though ChildHelp has grown beyond these ladies' wildest dreams, ChildHelp CEO and Chairman Sarah O'Meara and President Yvonne Pettersen continue to work every day to help neglected, abused, and at-risk children, and have never forgotten those 11 little orphans in a storm that inspired their mission of hope. I hope you've been inspired too with this edition of Zonie Living, Business, Adventure, and Leadership. I'm Bonnie Stevens.